Ooh, boy, do I have a video for you all today. Alright, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? You've got Matty Brollic here, the coach of the Los Angeles Rams for the NPL Season 8 semifinals match against none other than, you guessed it, Gypsy King himself and his Sydney Sharpedos, the most dominant draft format, franchise, and player in the history of the format, in my opinion, of course. But that's not really one that's as debatable, you know, when it comes to someone who's really just been super dominant and very successful in pretty much any competition he's ever entered in the draft format. It's really hard to argue against him. His results are just too much to argue against, type of thing. He is phenomenal at pretty much every aspect of draft format. When it comes to drafting, he really is good, and he's only gotten better since I've met him. And his playing is just, you know, right up there with the very, very best. And his building is always on point. He's just phenomenal in every aspect, and truly is no surprise why he is considered to be the very best draft format player. And not only is he the best draft format player, but he is also one of my best friends, and this is a game we've wanted for a while. So a little bit of a backstory before I go into things. We were both first in the NPL in Season 5. I joined in Season 4, but he joined in Season 5. And, you know, we both started off super dominant. We were both 8-0 in the regular season, and then we played each other. And we had a really, really good game. Could have gone either way. And unfortunately, I kind of choked it away, but like it was still a sick game, no hacks or anything, and overall it was, like I said, just an epic game, a really good way to go out on both of our 8-0 streaks, and he ended up going undefeated for the rest of the season and winning the championship. And unfortunately, I did not make the championship, and that was kind of a theme for the following seasons. We were both pretty dominant in the regular season generally. Like Season 6, I didn't draft my own team. I picked up a team. For those of you that remember, for those of you that don't know, I picked up a team midway through the season, Season 6, but it was a very good one. And I ended up becoming the most dominant coach during the regular season, but of course, I didn't make the finals again. So then Gypsy won the Season 6 finals against Iron Flash Gaming, another one of the absolute greatest, and that was, in my opinion, one of the most hyped finals games out there. And then Season 7, I drafted pretty much a meme team. Had a rough season overall. Had some games where I really, you know, I think I should have won. I just didn't play my best. But mostly, or unfortunately rather, there were a few big hacks losses that really set me back, because the very last game of the season, if I had won without hacks, I would have made the playoffs. But, you know, hacks got to me, and because of that, I didn't even have a chance to try to make it to the finals against Gypsy. So he made it to the finals once again. He was super dominant all season and won Season 7 as well. So he's a 3-time consecutive National Pokeball League champion, and bless his soul for even signing up again for Season 8. But one of the reasons I know that he signed up was because he knew that I was going to give it one more serious shot, and he really wanted to have some, you know, great Matty Gypsy games in the NPL, especially one in either the playoffs or preferably the finals. But because of the way things went down this season as well, we both ended up on the same side of the bracket, which is something I don't really mind personally, because for me, obviously, there's this certain prestige or epicness about a finals match, but at the end of the day, I just really wanted to play him in a do-or-die scenario where we can't hold anything back because we can't afford to. It's a playoff game, and that's really, really what I wanted, and I'm really glad that we're getting this opportunity. Like I said, you know, probably would be cooler, especially for the people watching, for it to be in the finals, but that stuff is superficial to me at the end of the day. It really doesn't matter that much. A championship isn't really what's been on my mind. It's really just been getting the chance to play Gypsy in a do-or-die scenario where we could just go all out and try to have a great time, because those are the games that I really end up remembering and enjoying in the format. So that is the plan here going into this game. And yeah, you know, so like I said, I've quite the video for you guys today, so I would appreciate if you stuck through the entire thing. I mean, I'm sure there's certain parts you might want to skip if you don't like watching the team builder or whatever, but it is going to be a pretty solid team builder, I think. Maybe you could learn something, maybe not, but yeah, I definitely encourage you to watch the battle and, you know, stick around for a little bit after that, because I definitely have some things to say, but I want to get into the team builder first, and then we can get into the game after, because I think there's some really good stuff ahead. So with that being said, we will get right into the team builder. And yeah, guys, take a look at this. All right, look familiar? Does this look familiar to last time if you guys watched my game against Gypsy for week 4? This is my week 4 team that I brought against him. I brought the bulky Nido King. It had enough bulk to live a Scald from Suicune and a max attack Shadow Sneak from Aegislash, both after Stealth Rocks. And we had enough speed to creep things like a modest Clefable, something maybe creeping, you know, a Adamant or modest Celesteela, with Sludge Wave, Earth Power, Thunderbolt, and Toxic Spikes. This thing was just an amazing breaker versus him. We had the Celesteela, just kind of like a mixed defenses set with you know, Dual Stabs, Leech Seed, and Protect. Pretty standard, but it's just a really, really big annoyance to his team. Definitely had a great or solid matchup last time, but he played around it very, very well. I had the Velveteen Dream by Musharna, just a max Fizz Death set. We had Hidden Power Ice for the Garchomp because we didn't want the thing coming in too freely against us. We had my favorite, the Choice Specs Lapras. We had a lot of speed on this thing as well, hopefully trying to creep things like Aegislash and Clefable. We had 3 ice moves here because his team really does not have good ice resists, especially considering Suicune is his best ice resist, and that thing gets, you know, blown away by Freeze Dry. So then we had Jesse Pinkman, the Raikou. We had a modest specs Raikou, which Raikou didn't really have a very good matchup against his team, especially because he's got the 2 grounds in both Quagsire and Garchomp, so I couldn't just bring, you know, the hidden power that blows one of them away. I had to, you know, pick one, and that made that thing a huge annoyance, or made that core a huge annoyance. But overall, this thing was cool because I was confident that it would creep his Medicham and Garchomp, and it could always come in and OHKO those things as long as, you know, the Garchomp isn't scarfed or something. So that was pretty cool to have. And then I had a fast, bulky Tyranitar, enough defense to live a max attack Sacred Sword from an Aegislash after Stealth Rocks. And we had Crunch, Stone Edge, Dual Stabs, Taunt, and Stealth Rock, because Taunt could really help me against some of his fat. And being able to keep things like Stealth Rocks up, preventing setup, could definitely have been really nice against this team. So I brought this team against him last time, and it was a really, really good build in my opinion. I feel that he has the overall matchup against me, not by a ton. I do think that that I do have major threats to his team, but I think overall his team is just really, really good, and it's very his style where mine isn't. And I do think overall he's got checks to everything that I have defensively, especially to the point where I really will have to, you know, build my butt off or just catch him off guard to be able to really secure a win. And I felt I was able to do that with this team, and I really felt that this was the winning team. Even though I lost, I was still confident that had I made a couple different plays that I would have been able to win that game, and that, you know, if we got the chance to replay with this team, I would be confident in being able to win again, as long as I just played it well. If I played it right, even if he kind of knew my sets, I felt like this was the winning team against most he could bring, unless he directly counter-teamed it. So, interestingly enough, I did something which is very, very risky, and a lot of people are afraid to do, but it's something that I think is a little overlooked and underrated in the format, and that's bringing a similar, or if not the same team as you brought against someone 2 times in a row. But the reason it's particularly risky here is because I lost the first time. You know, like, I lost, and whatever it is, not only did I lose, and it shows that this team could easily lose if I don't play it right, but it also shows that he has my team now because, you know, I uploaded the team builder. We even exchanged teams together. So he knows what I have. He knows what I packed last time. And to bring a team that lost to him and, you know, one that he knows already that he could easily try to counter team, that is something that a lot of people will probably consider to be very risky. The reason I say that is because I know so many people that have won against someone that they have to play a second time in the season, and they'll win really, really handily the first time. And I'm like, bring a lot of these sets again. You didn't even use some of them to their fullest potential. And whatever it is, these sets just have really, really good matchups. You don't have to bring the exact same team. Definitely switch a couple things up. But overall, I think it's fine because even if he tries to directly counter team some of these sets, some of them just have really, really good matchups to the point where they can't be counter teamed. They can't necessarily be just counter team because your opponent may not even have the means to do so. And that is why I felt that bringing a similar team in this scenario could work, because not only could it catch him off guard and surprise him in, you know, respect to the fact that I'm bringing the same team that I already lost to him with, but also because I was just confident that I could have won with that team and that I think that I should have won with that team. And now I do have a couple of changes on this squad that I really think can pay major dividends in this game. After testing, I was definitely confident in that, and I just came to a point where I was like, okay, I know what I have to do. I just have to go out there and I have to execute it. If I execute it, I really do think I have a good chance to win this game. But the problem is, Gypsy's team could be so fat that if he brings something super fat, he has the ability to potentially maneuver around my sets. And if he gets enough plays right, which, by the way, he's able to extend the game due to the sheer amount of bulk he has on his squad, it could become a situation where I could be in control of the game, but he could bring it right back into his favor because of all of the bulk options he has on his team, all the ways to sustain and keep healthy and wear me down and slowly drag the momentum away from me. So I am keeping that in mind. I know that he's very good at doing that, and I know that he has the means to do that, but I'm trying to prevent that as much as possible. So here is the first Pokemon that I did not have last time against Gypsy. And it's the only Pokemon that I brought differently this time. So I actually picked up Keldeo over Raikou, and I ended up bringing it instead of Raikou here. So this Pokemon here, my Keldeo, is a win condition here for sure. Because when you look at Gypsy's squad, he doesn't have many water resists. He has Abomasnow, but Abomasnow is, number one, a bit of an iffy choice against me because I have tons of offensive checks to Abomasnow as well as a couple defensive ones. And it's definitely not a Keldeo check because Keldeo's Stab Secret Sword is going to blow it away. So other than that, he just has the Suicune, which is not immune or not resistant to Fighting Stab and can't really hit Keldeo back with much. It gets extra sensory, but if he does not pack the extra sensory, if he's like a really fat Suicune set, then it's unlikely that he's going to have the extra sensory. And then Vileplume, which does resist Keldeo's stabs, but as you saw last week, Keldeo was able to lure and take out Merc's Mega Venusaur. And Vileplume is definitely not Mega Venusaur. It's a good Pokemon, definitely. It's definitely a pretty solid sleeper, but it is not Mega Venusaur. So if I could either weaken the Vileplume or remove the Vileplume or just get it in a scenario where Keldeo can set up a little bit and then 1v1 the Vileplume, then Keldeo can definitely be a huge menace to his team because he does not have the good water resist like I said. And now when you look back at my team, my moveset is Surf, Toxic, sorry about that, Taunt, and Calm Mind. I needed the Calm Mind because the set really is just kind of weak, and if I either weaken or remove his potential unaware users and things like Clef or Quagsire, then boosted Keldeo really is difficult for him to deal with, because even things like Vileplume, if I'm at +2 Spadef, for example, you know, Giga Drain from a bulky Vileplume really isn't going to do that much to me. So that is quite nice, as I have both the Surf and the Taunt to shut some of those things down. For unaware Pokemon, even something like a Water Absorb Quagsire, if that's what he decided to bring, I have Taunt and Toxic for. So that is quite nice. Things like Clefable. If an unaware Clefable comes in on me and it's been revealed that he's unaware, he really probably won't expect me to stay in on the Clefable. But poisoning that thing and keeping it weakened and just status is something I'm definitely looking to prioritize, and you'll see why in a little bit. Just keeping that thing weak, keeping it low, not really allowing it to Wish Pass as freely if that's what he decides to bring, but just keeping all the things that could possibly check Keldeo later on, keeping those weakened. So that is the Keldeo set. I have enough bulk to avoid a 2-hit KO from Clefable's Moonblast after Stealth Rock if I'm at +1. So I'm at +1 special defense, and he brings in a Clefable. Even if it's unaware, then I'm still confident in just staying in and Toxicking it because of, well, actually, if he's unaware, he'll ignore the boost. But whatever it is, he can't even come close to knocking out a healthy Keldeo with a Moonblast from an uninvested Clefable. So I can, bring that thing in and get it Toxicked, which is definitely something I would like to do. But this thing doesn't need to be necessarily played early on. It could come in later. But overall, this set does have a good amount of utility against this team, and it can be a very good win condition if the scenario sets it up that way. So next up, we have Nidoking, and this is almost the exact same set. The only difference is that I took off a couple points in speed and put him into special attack. Not for any specific calc, just figured I didn't really need the speed as much this time. And the creep I was going to go with was going to be this instead of at 225. I didn't really have a particularly great reason, but I felt comfortable with it. And just a little bit more damage output cannot hurt. So that is pretty solid. We have the Toxic Spike, which can definitely be quite nice against this team, especially if he does not bring a poison type. He does have 2, but I don't think Nihilego has a great matchup against me. And even if it does, I do have some natural checks to it. It is a big threat because I did under prep for it a little bit, but the Violet Plume, I also do have some means of checking. So this Nidoking is just really, really good against this team, and it was last time too, but I wasn't able to utilize it nearly as well as possible. Toxic Spikes really could have abused him last time had I been able to set them up properly, but this time I'm figuring he probably won't be as weak to Toxic Spikes, but he really can't do that much about this set, this coverage, because his team just doesn't really have the means to check this thing very well unless he brings certain AV users, maybe like Suicune, because otherwise this thing really just goes in. So next up we have Velveteen Dream, same exact spread as last time to check the Mega Medicham, but instead of Hidden Power Ice, we have Healing Wish. Now, this is important, this Healing Wish right here, because I mentioned to you with Keldeo earlier that I, can play a little bit recklessly, really try to make sure I get certain things toxic and whittled early game if I need to, because that opens up doors for other potential win cons, or even Keldeo itself late game if I could just keep it alive. And Musharna has plenty of opportunities to set up Healing Wishes on his team. I just need to be a little bit careful because Medicham just hits so hard that I need to be a little careful at times, because it could create some 50-50s where, like, if I go to recover, then he brings in something like Aegislash, which could be really, really annoying. Or if, I bring it in and I feel that he's going to switch with Mega Medicham, then, oh, sorry about that. Now you get to see my background a little bit. Some nice Fate Zero action. Where did I go? Oh. Okay. What's it called? Yeah, if the Medicham, I'm thinking the Medicham's going to want to switch out against me, it's always a risk whether I Baton Pass or not, because if I Baton Pass and he stays in and attacks and weakens me to a point where I can't really switch into Medicham safely anymore, then that can be a bit of an issue. So the unfortunate thing about this set is that there are mind games, but if I can keep this thing healthy, it can set up Healing Wishes on a lot, which is great. So next up we have the Lapras, which is almost the exact same as last time. I think I gave it like one more speed point. And then I have the Tyranitar with the same speed as Nidoking, and the only difference of the moveset is that I have Foul Play over Crunch, because Swords Dance Aegislash is a big threat, and Gypsy actually did bring Swords Dance last time, and I actually went against it in a couple of mocks where, you know, I wasn't. It was nice because I didn't have to be too afraid of letting people, or of letting, you know, my opponent lock into Swords Dance with Aegislash, or set up a couple Swords Dances on something like a Choice Lock Lapras or a Celesteela, because I knew my Tyranitar could come in and just blow it away with the Foul Play. King Shield won't save him from that. So that is nice. It also hits Garchomp and Medicham a little bit harder than Crunch does, considering I'm not like max attack or anything. So I definitely like the Foul Play on this set. Crunch is really nice for solid damage against most of his team, but I don't really need T-Tar for that many things. The main thing is here for his Aegislash and the fact that it can really shut down some of his fat, especially by getting up the rocks. So finally, we have Bring Selly up. We have WinCon number 2, and this is a similar spread to last time, but we are bold. We have a little bit in speed, because if he brings a bulky Clef, if he brings a bulky Aegislash, I want to be able to outspeed those things if I can. And we have mostly physical defense. We have a little bit in Spadef, but the prerogative of this set is to just really pressure and potentially 1v1 tons of things on his team. His whole team really struggles with this set. His best way of playing around this is having Wish Pass into things like Pressure, Rest Talk, Suicune, because Metal Sound is apparently an 85% accurate move. I should have checked that, you know, before going into this. I didn't even know it could miss. But Metal Sound is a stat lowering move, which I'm sure a lot of you know what it is, but for anyone who doesn't, it lowers the target's special defense. It halves it, you know, lowers it by 2 stages, and doing that will force him to just try to pivot around this Celesteela, which is not that easy, because Celesteela, even with no investment, is not a weak Pokemon. Air Slash does decent damage. He doesn't really have great flying resists, and just being able to whittle things and stay healthy with Air Slash and Leech Seed, forcing him to switch or potentially staying in and getting big damage off on something that has only half special defense is really, really nice. Protect is nice as well, as, you know, for scouting and staying healthy with Leech Seed, as well as for a potential Z move on Garchomp if it comes down to it. And overall, the Celesteela is really, really annoying. It's super obnoxious against his team, and I hate running sets like this, but it really is a fantastic set. It was a trick that I had up my sleeve ever since last time that I knew I could keep stored away for a potential playoff game or championship game, whatever it may be, because last time the set that I brought was definitely solid against him, but this set, without a doubt, is definitely more annoying against him and shuts down a lot of his team. Could really just start 1v1ing a lot of things if he doesn't have ways to just continuously pivot around it and PP stall me or something. So having Healing Wish on Musharna here is a beautiful thing, because Keldeo and Celesteela are just really obnoxious against him, as well as Nidoking being able to just bust his team wide open. Lapras potentially being able to bust his team wide open. Like last time, the team that he brought was so wide open to Lapras, and I just, you know, made a really bonehead mistake and didn't consider the Rocky MZ on Garchomp when I knew there was a good chance he would bring it in prep. But I got so used to everyone bringing Firium and Mox that I thought that was probably the better set, because it really just does so much to Celesteela with the Z move. But either way, Rocky did enough. Like, it was dumb of me, but essentially this Lapras really had a good matchup last time, so I do think that if anything now he will prep for it a little bit more, because as much as, you know, it's Lapras and it's a little bit of a joke and he was really surprised to see it last time, I think he probably realized, even by watching my video, that, you know, the Lapras really could have been a major weapon against him, so he did not want to be as weak to it this time. So that's why, Nidoking, I just love this set because it's not that type of Pokemon where he could say like, all right, I don't want to be weak to it this time, so I'm going to bring this. Like, no, he just really doesn't have good switch-ins to Nidoking, which is awesome. Nidoking is probably the Pokemon that has like the best matchup against his team, other than maybe the Celesteela set and Keldeo in combination with the rest of the team. The rest of these Pokemon are really just kind of meh. They're really just kind of here because they serve a really important role, especially something like Musharna. But, these 4 Pokemon right here are the crux of this team. And I'm really happy with the way it came out. I know it's super similar to last time, but it wasn't me being lazy. I promise. I actually had other teams for this game, and I tested them all out. And I tested this one out quite a bit, and I really felt good about it. I, was essentially winning all of my test games. And I was like, you know what? I just need to execute. I just need to come out. I can't have one of my typical Matty chokes in a big game. I need to just go out there and, play at the level I know I'm capable of playing at. So that is my team builder, ladies and gentlemen, for NPL Season 8 semifinals against the King. So without further ado, we will segue into the actual battle. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, 4 seasons in the making, and it's finally time. Matty versus GYPSY in the NPL semifinals. I know it's not the finals, but if you guys watched any other part of this video and didn't just skip straight to the battle, I was just saying that for me, a finals game is sort of superficial. I just wanted to play against GYPSY in a do-or-die situation where we could both go all out and give it our best, because those are the games that I've always had the most fun with. Or I just always have the most fun when I'm playing games against guys like him. And what's nice about this one is it's not in the regular season, so we can't afford to hold anything back. We both have to all go out, and definitely, it was definitely an exciting prospect for me. I know for him as well. We were really hyped for this. Like I said, 4 seasons in the making, and it is time to finally have our playoff match. So, yeah, I hope you guys are hyped. This is a pretty... Alright, so what you're going to see is going to be... It's going to be something. It is definitely going to be something. I promise you that. GYPSY, there's no one else in the format that I respect more than GYPSY. Like I said earlier, he's pretty much the best draft format player of all time, except for me, of course, because I am Matty Omega. I am the real star of the show. I know I don't have all the championships and all the, I don't always have the most consistent. I mean, I'm usually pretty consistent, but, I have those bad days like March Madness 0-4 and NPL last season, not even making playoffs. But at the end of the day, whenever GYPSY and I play, we always have these crazy back and forth games that can go either way, because, I think if there's anyone in the format that can beat him, it's me. So we're going to go all out. Hopefully we put on a great show for you guys, and I really hope you enjoy. So get ready, buckle down, strap in, and prepare for the ride, because I promise you it'll be a ride, alright. So looking at the team matchup here, we have pretty much what I was expecting him to bring. I'm not that type of guy, and I say this all the time. I will not be that type of guy to be like, oh, I think he's bringing this 6, or maybe like 2 others over this or that. No, like, it's fine to identify which Pokemon have good matchups against you and prepare for that. But for the people that are just like, oh, he's bringing this 6, so I'm preparing for this 6, or preparing for this 7 or 8. I don't think that's a safe way to build and prepare, because if you really, really want to have a solid team, you need to make sure that you're prepared for everything, because as best as you can. I mean, it's not always possible if your matchup is really bad, but at the end of the day, if you have room to prep for something, I suggest you prep for it, because even if a Pokemon is tier 5 or, only 2 or 3 points, if it has a good matchup against you, or if it can perform a certain role that you choose to overlook because you say he's not bringing that, it's not that good of a Pokemon, it doesn't have an obviously good matchup against me, then you're going to regret it later down the road. So I definitely wasn't like, oh, I think he's bringing this 6, so I'm going to counter team this 6. No, I built a team that I think could beat anything that he brings. But these were the 6 that I thought were most likely, because I think that they all generally have really solid matchups against me. And I figured that he kind of needed the Vileplume to help check things like Keldeo and Mimikyu. So I was expecting the Vileplume, but I thought that if there was something that would be a little more interchangeable, it would be that for maybe something like Mandibuzz or the Heligo, or what else? Potentially Duosion, just because of how well it could check most Celesteela sets, but not the one I have. So if you guys didn't watch the team builder, I'll just tell you the sets really quickly. I don't want to go in depth because I made a whole in-depth team builder about it, but I have my 2 win cons right here. Keldeo is a Taunt, Toxic, Calm Mind Surf set with a solid amount of bulk and leftovers. I have a Metal Sound Celesteela, mostly physically defensive, with Air Slash as the attacking move, and then both Leech Seed and Protect. It really could pressure and 1v1 almost everything on his team. Then I have a Breaker Nidoking, almost the exact same set I brought against him last time. I have Toxic Spikes, Sludge Wave, Earth Power, and Thunderbolt. I have Musharna, physically defensive to check Medicham. I have Shadow Ball because if he ever wants to pivot an Aegislash on Musharna, it could get a decent little amount of chip damage off on it, as well as hit Medicham hard. And I have Healing Wish as my last move on Musharna, which I did not have last time, and that is really, really nice because of how good these win cons can be. I have a Choice Specs Lapras, same set I brought last time, and I have a fast but bulky Stealth Rock Mega Tyranitar with Taunt, as well as Stone Edge and Foul Play. Foul Play being for primarily the Aegislash, but also hits Garchomp and Medicham very, very hard as well. So that is what I have going on here for the team. Like I said, this was pretty much what I was expecting from him. Like these were the most likely 6 I felt, but just looking at it by team preview, because he brought the Suicune, I'm really thinking that this Clefable is going to be Unaware. He doesn't have the Quagsire, so having Unaware Clefable is very nice for Mimikyu, which could be a very big threat to his team. Because if he doesn't want to pack Bullet Punch on Mega Medicham, then he doesn't really have good offensive checks for it, because Garchomp, if it doesn't have a Z move that can OHKO Mimikyu, then he just gets knocked out by Play Rough. And if my Disguise isn't broken, then Mimikyu could come in on Garchomp and either force it out or knock it out. I have, if his Ageless doesn't have King Shield, then obviously I have Shadow Sneak or Shadow Claw for that, as well as I could have the Wood Hammer, which on the Mimikyu team that I did build did have Wood Hammer, because it just blows away Quagsire, and it also +2 Adamant Wood Hammer could kill Suicune after Stealth Rocks, which is pretty crazy. So Vileplume really, really helps him check Mimikyu, as well as Clefable too, if he's unaware. Clefable just checks a lot, like Latios as well. His team isn't the most or the best against Latios if his Aegislash isn't tailored to beat Latios. So I really think this Clefable is going to be a bulky Unaware set, and likely to be Wish Pass because of how annoying Suicune can be against my team. Because if he's just able to whittle my team, then Suicune could potentially just set up on me all day, or just constantly heal up and spam Scald until I'm whittled to the point where either Suicune could 1v1 a lot of my team, things like Medicham and Garchomp could pick off the rest of my team. Whatever it is, I am thinking this Clefable is going to be a bulky Wish Passer. I'm pretty confident Vileplume is going to be a bulky set. I don't know what his exact moves are going to be. Like, I don't know if he's going to want to run things like Sleep Powder or Leech Seed, but there's a good chance he might want to run things like Strength Sap over Synthesis, because I have Tyranitar Sand, which can make Synthesis not as effective, and Strength Sap could also help things not pressure Vileplume as much because of the fact that it lowers attack and whatnot. So, I don't know what its exact moves are going to be, and I don't know if he's going to decide to bring in Spadef or Fizdef, because Fizdef could check Mimikyu, Spadef can check Keldeo better. So I don't really know. But the Suicune, I'm not 100% sure. I'm thinking it's going to either be like a Roar set. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Rest Talk, but I'm thinking that, you know, Subtoxic is always a strong possibility because of just how good of a set it is. But he does not have T-Spikes on this team, so I don't really think it's going to be Vincoon. What else? Yeah, like I said, a Sleep Talk Roar set I think is a strong possibility, but also Calm Mind Sleep Talk I think is a very good possibility, especially with the potential Wish past Clef. Garchomp I think is going to be a Stealth Rock Z-move user like it was last time because it just has a great matchup against my team, and it's like how my Nidoking is versus him, where he just really doesn't have the means to check it super well defensively. I have that same issue with Z Garchomp. So, and its speed tier is really, really good against me. That's the difference kind of with Garchomp versus Nidoking. Nidoking can break a little bit better against his team, I would say. A little bit, not a ton. Garchomp is a really good breaker against me, but Garchomp having that speed tier is what really, really makes it a huge threat because it can come in on so many... It can outspeed everything on my team except for Keldeo, and Keldeo only has Surf, which I'm not even invested that much in special attack, so if Garchomp is healthy, then it's not even, you know, dropping to Keldeo. So that is why I'm definitely expecting the Z move or just some type of SD and potentially Stealth Rock set, because it's his only Stealth Rocker except for maybe Clefable here. So if you guys watched my Week 4 game versus Gypsy, the plan was to lead Nidoking, because if he leads Garchomp and I lead Nidoking, I'm someone who likes Focus Sash leads. So last time especially would have expected him to switch out had he led Garchomp because of the fear of just letting it go down turn 1 to Ice Beam. So this time around, I'm kind of going with the same plan, but I'm hoping that he doesn't lead Garchomp, because if he leads Garchomp, I think he will be smart enough to kind of call my bluff on not having a Focus Sash Nidoking, because even though he knows that I like that type of set, he knows that I know he knows that, number one, and number two, he knows how threatening the Breaking Nidoking set is against his team with a Life Orb, so I'm pretty sure he knows that I wouldn't waste my Nidoking on a Sash set when it is just that threatening with the Life Orb. So I'm kind of confident that if he leads Garchomp, he's going to stay in. So I'm kind of hoping he doesn't lead Garchomp, because that definitely gives him a little more initiative. But either way, Nidoking is my play, because it leads pretty well against everything on his team. The only other thing is Mega Medicham, but I have a really solid switch into that with the Musharna. And he can't punish it as well. For example, like Garchomp, if he predicts my switch, he could just go for SD or Stealth Rock. So with that being said, we're going to get into this battle. So, sorry for the phone in the background. I lead with Meruem, the Nidoking, and I switch right into Celesteela. He goes for Earthquake. So that's good, because like I said, he could punish me with Nidoking, which would be really, which could be really bad. But I'm sure, you know, in one way or the other, he was fearing the Ice Beam. I don't know if he's Yachi Berry or anything like that. There is always the potential of that, but I do think he's more likely to be Z-move. But, you know, last game, for example, I had my Raikou on Garchomp, and I was a Specs Raikou, and he didn't think I'd be Specs Raikou. So he made that assumption and stayed in going for Stealth Rocks, which that play put him so far ahead that I really wasn't able to dig myself out of that hole after losing my Lapras and then not killing the Garchomp, because the Garchomp was one of the biggest threats to my team. And the Garchomp would have just dropped right there. He wouldn't have been able to get up rocks, and I would have been in a really, really good position had that happened. But it did not happen, because he made an assumption that I kind of considered to be a misplay, because had he really just called my bluff and knew I was probably going to switch out trying to take advantage of the situation, that would have been just an amazing prediction. But he just thought I wasn't Specs, and he really didn't consider that as a possibility, which would have been a big mistake had he stayed in, because I was Specs. So I think this time around, knowing that happened, he probably is thinking to himself, all right, well, you know, last time when I took advantage of Matty switching out, thinking that his Raikou wasn't going to be Specs, it turned out he was Specs, and he could have really punished me for that play. So this time I'm not going to make that risk. So he goes right for the safe Earthquake, and thankfully, we don't get punished too badly on that play. But now he's still probably going to be able to get up his Stealth Rocks, but at least I can get a little bit of damage on this Garchomp, scout the set a little bit. Especially if you wanted to substitute there, it was definitely my best play to go for the Air Slash. So here I could just go for Leech Seed as he goes into Suicune. Good play on his part because Suicune has pressure. So Celesteela has 16 Leech Seeds, and now I only have 14 left because my first one got doubled due to pressure. So here I'm going to go right for the Metal Sound because it allows me to potentially whittle the Suicune or predict something else to come in here and Metal Sound that to just keep the pressure up. So he brings in the Clefable, and I am going to just go right for the Air Slash here, as he actually goes right into Vileplume. I think he expected me to go for the Leech Seed or go hard into something like Nidoking. If he did expect me to go hard into Nidoking or something along those lines, that kind of leads me to believe that, I mean, going to... maybe he's deaf enough to confidently take something like a Fire Blast, but it leads me to believe that he does have something like Sleep Powder, because then he could fire off a Sleep Powder, and if he doesn't miss, then it's just asleep. You know, something's going to sleep. So, I think that was kind of his thought process there, but me going for the Leech Seed or the Air Slash was definitely nice there. It reveals that he's more physically defensive than anything, or if he's defensive, it's physically, because if he had a lot of special defense investment, he wouldn't have taken that much damage from us. So here I could just click Air Slash again. Don't really need to go to Metal Sound too much. I definitely don't want the Vileplume healing up on me, so Air Slash was totally my play. As here, he goes for the Protect as I go for the Metal Sound, and now I'm actually going to go for the Leech Seed because I am... what's it called? I'm starting to think that his set is going to be the Wish Protect set, and his attack is probably going to be Moonblast and maybe Knock Off. And I don't want to get my item knocked off, but I'm pretty confident that he's not going to go right for the knockoff, that he wasn't going to go for the knockoff right there. And I really wanted to get the Leech Seed off just to see if this Clefable was a is a Magic Guard or Unaware set. So we do get the Leech Seed recovery, which tells us that he is unaware. So here, I actually go for the Metal Sound, and I miss on the Garchomp, because I knew he was going to switch out. I figured he was going to go into either Suicune or Garchomp. I knew he wouldn't go into Vileplume, because Gypsy knows that I could be pretty likely to try to punish that play, and not allow him to just get an obvious Wish Pass into something that I could just easily kill right in front of me. So I know he's going to go into Garchomp or Suicune, potentially Aegislash if he wants to, but definitely not things like Medicham or Vileplume. So here I just go for the Metal Sound, because if he goes into Garchomp, then I have its special defense, and you just saw earlier that the Air Slash did 29. So at -2, the Air Slash is doing around 60%, which is awesome because that puts it in range of Keldeo's Surf. So I actually missed the Metal Sound, and like I said earlier in the team builder, I didn't even know Metal Sound could miss. I, for some reason, just didn't even see it. And this kind of sucks, because if I did get that Metal Sound off, then he's forced to switch, or if he wants to be bold and stay, and I get a lot of damage off on him, because even if he goes right for something like a Fire EMZ or a Rock EMZ, it's going to do a good amount of damage, but then he's burnt his Z move, and I can heal up on a good amount of his team, and I also have the Healing Wish in the back. So that miss kind of does stink, but here I'm just going to go for the Leech Seed, and now I'm going to go right for the Protect to see if he goes for the Fire EMZ, as he just goes right for a Fire Fang. And now I'm going to go hard into Clefable. I mean, Keldeo, as he goes into Clefable, because I was trying to scout for either the Fire Him or the Rocky Him or whatever he might have as a Z move, as I know I could take it fairly well, and he does have the Leech Seed, and I have the Leftovers Recovery, so I would have been able to go up to a pretty good amount, even if the Z move did do a good chunk of damage. So he brings in the Clefable, and like I said earlier, guys, I'm not that afraid of playing this a little bit recklessly. So I'm actually going to go right for the Toxic here, thinking that he's probably going to just go right for a Wish. And he actually pulls a switch into Mega Medicham, Netero. And I wasn't expecting that, but once I realized that he did that, I figured, okay, so he expected me to likely try to get some momentum into Nidoking on a Wish. So that was his play, and it worked out for us because we just wanted the Clefable Toxic. Even if he did Moonblast us, it wouldn't have done too much, and keeping that Clefable poison would be nice. So here he brings in his Medicham, and poisoning that thing is pretty nice. We have a really solid switch in the Musharna as he goes right for the Drain Punch, and that doesn't do that much. Like, I know Musharna is really bulky and that's a resisted hit, but Medicham is ridiculously strong. So this tells me that he is not running even nearly like max attack, and he's definitely not adamant. I figured that he would be Jolly, if anything, because I have a Mimikyu, but still, that did not do much. So kind of interesting, because Medicham doesn't really need that much attack to do a lot of damage to most of my team, but still, things like Celesteela kind of appreciates the damage output for, and weakening the Musharna. So here I'm going to go right for the Baton Pass, because I'm really not that afraid of that thing going for a different attack, because like I said, I don't think it's that invested. So I bring in Lapras on his Suicune, and I am just going to fire off a Freeze Dry. Now he brings in his Clefable here, and it does a good little chunk to the Clefable, but not a ton, unfortunately. Ice Beam might have been... it might have been a 2-hit KO from that range, but I think after a Protect it wouldn't have been. But he doesn't bring in the Aegislash, which, you know, could have resisted the obvious incoming Freeze Dry. Like, I really didn't have a good reason to not go for Freeze Dry there. So he didn't bring in the Aegislash, so I'm definitely keeping my eye out for that, because that does tell me something. So here he goes right for the Heal Bell, because I think he expected me to pivot out here, knowing that he could just Wish up. And I probably want to go into something like Nidoking, so I make a little bit of an aggressive play and I stay in and just Freeze Dry again in case he wanted to, you know, try to take advantage of me, what's it called? Just in case you wanted to try to take advantage of me switching out type of thing, and bring in something else like predicting, or if he wanted to take advantage of me thinking that I think he's going to go for a Wish. So I just go for another Freeze Dry. Really isn't too much of a loss here, as now I actually put this Clefable in range of another Freeze Dry, even after a Protect. So I'm going to stay in here again and go for another Freeze Dry. And now I'm just like, you know what? I really don't lose much by going for Freeze Dry, because the reason I think he hasn't been quick to switch an Aegislash is not only because he doesn't want it to take damage, which tells me that it might be a potential win con, but I think there's a chance that, or a good chance rather, that it could be on an Air Balloon, because look at his team and look at Nidoking. This is GYPSY King we're talking about, and I brought a Nidoking last time that really had a chance to just bust his team wide open, and it has that chance way more now, considering he didn't bring a Spadef knockoff Manabuzz this time around, and he does not have anything off the ground. So that tells me that there is a good chance this Aegislash is on an Air Balloon, especially because the fact that he hasn't brought it in on things like Celesteela when it could have been an easy pivot for him to go into, as well as this Lapras when I'm spamming a weak resisted move like Freeze Dry. So that tells me that I think it's likely that his Aegislash is going to be on a balloon. So now I'm just like, you know what? I'm just clicking Freeze Dry again, because I should be getting a kill here, as either he sacks Clefable or sacks Vileplume. If he does, if he's not Air Balloon Aegislash, then maybe he would go into that, but I am really starting to think that he is Air Balloon, so if he does go into Aegislash, at least it helps me scout the set or pop his balloon if he does have one. So I have a very free Freeze Dry right here as he goes into Medicham, and that takes 42, less than 42. It takes 41.8% from a modest specs Freeze Dry. And now I know Freeze Dry isn't that strong of a move, and I know Lapras isn't that strong of a Pokemon, but I am modest, I am +1, and Medicham is not that bulky. Now, I do know how bulky Medicham can be when invested. Not that it can be so bulky, but it can really be deceptive. If any of you guys have watched my Brawl for All run in the last time I played in it, which was like a few months ago, it was sometime over the winter, I used a Mega Medicham team, and I brought bulky Medicham a lot, and I took a lot more hits than people expected me to, and was able to just OHKO a lot of offensive Pokemon without even much attack investment because Medicham can do those types of things. So I do know how bulky Medicham can be, but I just really didn't expect it to be that SPDF, and I really thought that Lapras was going to get me a lot of momentum here. So calculating that damage, I realized that there's a chance that he's careful Medicham. Like, that could have been a low roll, but for example, like, let's say this was min roll. The bulkiest that he could have been was like a careful Medicham with like 252 HP and like 100 SPDF. So that's a lot of bulk on Mega Medicham if he's anywhere near that. So here I'm going to switch out and I can go into my Mushark. I realize how bulky this thing is. I really don't think he could do that much to me, as he actually goes right for Recover, which is really annoying because now this Medicham is healthy. And this Medicham could 1v1 a lot of my team depending on the set. So here I'm going to go right for the Baton Pass, knowing that he can't do too much to me again, as he goes for Calm Mind. So I'm like, what is this Medicham right now? Like, I really was not expecting this. And it's actually really threatening because he has 2 great Calm Mind recipients and a potential Aegislash, which just blows my team wide open. I do not have switch-ins to special Aegislash especially. I'm better prepared for physical. And Suicune, which I think he may have Calm Mind on that set, and just getting those boosts past into Suicune first, allowing it to have a little bit more offensive presence and just being able to tank special hits like anything is a really scary prospect. And also the fact that Medicham could just Calm Mind up and then 1v1 things like Nidoking, because Nidoking can't 2-hit KO it at +1, and then he could just continuously Drain Punch me. So I am definitely worried about this thing, but at least I know Celesteela should be able to 1v1 this thing. I don't know that Baton Pass is his last move for sure, but I'm pretty confident that it is. So I bring in the Celesteela as he goes right for the Drain Punch, and I go right for the Metal Sound here. Thinking that there was a decent chance he'd switch out, but knowing that I get the Metal Sound off, I know he's going to switch out. So here I go for the Leech Seed as he makes a good play going into Suicune, wasting another Leech Seed with the pressure. But at least it helps me stay a little bit healthy, as here I'm going to Metal Sound again. He doesn't get a Skull Burn, which is nice, as it's allowing me to stay fairly healthy. As here I go right for the Air Slash as he goes into Garchomp. That's pretty cool because at least the Garchomp is in range of a +1 Keldeo Surf. As here I go right for the Leech Seed just because Z-Garchomp is that threatening that I kind of have to. So now this becomes a little bit of a stall fest. As here I go for the Metal Sound as the Clefable comes in. And he keeps switching out because he knows I'm not going to be likely to click Leech Seed on a Suicune and waste precious Leech Seed PP. So by going into Clefable, he can get me to go for Metal Sound, as he can just get some leftovers recovery and then pivot right back out into things like Suicune. So here I'm really trying to attack this Suicune as he starts setting up on me, and now I realize he's probably going to be Rest, so I'm going to have to Metal Sound him again here, as I do not want to allow this Suicune to set up on me, because if it does, it can actually just beat me pretty much. So I really need to stay in with Celesteela, even if it means losing a lot of my PP. So he gets a Calm Mind in the first Sleep Talk, which is definitely annoying, but at least the second one he gets a Rest, which is good for me, as I get the Leech Seed off. And now I was really tempted to go for Air Slash there, but he does get me and goes into Clefable. So he's starting to really shift the momentum back into his favor here. And if you didn't see the team builder, that's kind of what I said Gypsy's just so great at doing, especially with this type of team that he's drafted. It is just so crazy bulky, and he does have enough offensive presence to keep everyone on their toes and allow him to pressure people both offensively but especially defensively, just with his amazing playing skill and the fact that he has things like Unaware Mons and Wish Pass access from things like Clefable into one of the most obnoxious pressure stall Pokemon in the game in Suicune. So even though my sets have been catching him off guard and I've been playing this pretty solidly, all of a sudden he's kind of really swinging this back into his favor. It's not like I'm doing so poorly right now, but it is definitely not it's definitely not as comfortable as it was a little while ago, because it really seemed like I was pressuring him and slowly whittling him down, and all of a sudden now he's kind of whittling me down and PP stalling my essentially biggest win con, and also slowly weakening my team, and I don't have hazard removal to prevent these rocks from slowly whittling me down. So here, I make the hard play going into Nidoking because I already know that he has Heal Bell on this Clefable, and he doesn't have Knockoff, so I'm not afraid to lose my Life Orb. I mean, he can have Knockoff as his last move. It could be an attack, his only attack, but I think he's more likely to have the Moonblast because Moonblast, unaware Clefable, is actually really good against me. So I go right into the Nidoking as he goes right for the Protect. As that's good for me because him going for a Wish definitely would have been more annoying. But now this is an interesting turn. Very, very interesting turn. So hear me out. Earlier, you heard me saying how I was starting to really think that this Aegislash would be on an air balloon. I did have one mock against the BBC King himself, and he brought an air balloon Nihilego. And I was at work on my phone playing the game, so I see no ground immunities. I'm like, oh, easiest Earth Power of my life. So when I play mocks at work, when I have some downtime, I have to, be on alert and make sure that people don't see me, on my phone at work, because I'm not slacking off. I only do it when I have free time, but still, just don't want the coworkers to come over and see that I'm not working or whatever. So, or not even attempting to look like I'm working. So that's why I just kind of try to rush my games and play pretty quickly. So I Earth Powered when going for something like Sludge Wave or Thunderbolt was definitely my best play because there was a good chance that either the Aegislash or the Nihilego were going to be on a balloon, and he did bring a balloon Nihilego as I Earth Powered. And had I popped the balloon of that Nihilego, it totally would have put me in a super good spot. And from then on out, I realized that if he does not have a grounded Pokemon, or not, if he does not have a Pokemon that's off the ground, then there is a good chance that he will have an Air Balloon Pokemon, and Aegislash is a very good candidate for that because that makes it immune to both of Nidoking's stabs. So if he can get me in a spot where Nidoking's stabs look really good, then the Aegislash is coming in, and it's going to come in on its balloon, and it's going to pressure my team because I don't have good switch-ins to it. So I'm confident that this Aegislash is going to be on an Air Balloon. If he went into Garchomp, if he goes into Garchomp, predicting like a Sludge Wave or a Thunderbolt here, making a God play, or just saying, Garchomp's my least expendable member right now, so I'm going to go into this and try to potentially catch a Thunderbolt, then I would just forfeit right on the spot, because that would just be such a next level play. But, I mean, not really. I still would have a chance or whatever, but that would just be such a crazy, amazing play that I would just be like, damn, this kid is just too good. So I thought about it for a while, and I'm like, I think I have to Thunderbolt here. I really think I have to Thunderbolt here, because I think there's a good chance that if he's not Air Balloon Aegislash, he sacks Vileplume here. So if I go for Thunderbolt, I'm not really in danger, because I could just fire off and attack the next turn. Or he goes into a Balloon Aegislash here, because I really don't think that any of his other Pokemon are really worth sacking right now. So I go, and Clefable is at -2 Spadef, so even though he's unaware, he's not unaware to his own stat drops, so Thunderbolt will knock him out from here. So it's not even like I need to worry about Clefable getting a Wish Off or anything. So I go for the Thunderbolt, as he does go into Big Papa, the Air Balloon Aegislash, and we pop that balloon. And now we claim our kill, essentially, as he goes right into the Medicham. Now here, I think he really thought that he could potentially scare me out, knowing how good Nidoking is against his team, that I would be afraid of the Psychic move. But seeing how bulky he is, and seeing how he had an Air Balloon Aegislash and he has a Calm Mind Suicune, I am confident that his last move on Medicham is going to be the Baton Pass, because having Zen Headbutt as his last move, or some type of Psychic physical attack, even a special attack, does absolutely nothing against Musharna. That just leaves him as total Musharna bait, as he cannot touch it at all whatsoever. So unless he was a Pursuit Aegislash, then I just don't see why he would bring a Calm Mind Medicham just to set up on special attackers like Nidoking, so I can't kill him, and then just beat me down with his dual stabs. It really just doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm definitely confident that he's going to have Baton Pass as his last move. So I'm going to stay in and I'm just going to keep clicking Earth Power because of the reasoning I just stated. So I'm clicking the Earth Power as he's being whittled down, and finally he realizes that I'm calling his bluff. I'm not taking that, as he sacks his Vileplume, which is amazing for Keldeo. As here he goes into Garchomp. I go into Lapras knowing that I could probably take an Earthquake if he's Jolly, as I do. Now I know he's going to expect the Ice Shard here. I clicked Freeze Dry just because I really didn't want to allow the Suicune to come in and set up. I knew Ice Beam or Hydro Pump would have been better here, but I didn't want, like I said, Suicune to really have an opportunity to come in and heal up. So I go for the Freeze Dry instead, because I'm not as afraid of this Aegis Slash as I am of the Suicune at the moment. So here, I could pivot into T-Tar knowing that Shadow Sneak is a possibility, but there really is no reason to risk it, because if he just goes for something like a Sacred Sword here, as I switch into T-Tar, then that is just really, really dumb. So here I bring in the Nidoking, and I know he's probably going to go for Shadow Sneak, so I don't risk going for T-Spikes. I just claim my kill, as Nidoking has dropped 2 Pokemon. Now here he goes into Garchomp, as I go into Musharna instead of Celesteela, because my Keldeo and Celesteela are so healthy right now, Healing Wish isn't as much of a big priority to me right now. So I calc it, and I have a good chance to live 2 Earthquakes from a Jolly Garchomp, or plus 2 Earthquake from a Jolly Garchomp. So I'm pretty confident going into Musharna here, because if I go into Musharna and he decides to just, you know, set up on me or just attack me, if I get a Shadow Ball off, then I put Garchomp in range of a Surf without having to boost. So I bring in the Musharna as this Earthquake bounces off. He gets kind of a low roll. I don't know his investment. If he was a max attack, then that was a bit of a low roll. But I just fire off the Shadow Balls. He actually goes hard into Suicune. So here I'm going to Baton Pass, because no reason for me to hard switch when he's just going to go for an attack, as I can go right into my Keldeo, and it is time for Keldeo to start putting in some work. So I go right for the Taunt here, as he goes right for the Scald. And here I am going to go for the Toxic, as now all of a sudden I think that this Keldeo is in an amazing spot, because his Clefable is low to the point where he can't take 2 Surfs, he can't safely switch it in. And if I'm at +1, then Garchomp definitely dies to a Surf from the range it's at. And Medicham is only at 18.6%. And this Keldeo walls a Suicune to hell and back, because he can't set up Combines on me, and even if he burns me with Scald, I have the leftovers to negate that. So Keldeo is in a very commanding position right now, as here I click a Surf because I don't lose much by it, and can catch an aggressive Clefable switch, because if I go for something like another Toxic or a Calm Mind, and Clefable comes in, then he has a chance to get some health back. But I do know that there's a good chance he's going to want to try to make that aggressive play, as he's kind of in the position where he's almost desperate to. So I get the Surf off, which is great. I have no reason to not click Surf again, even though I could easily, you know, predict him to go for Calm Mind here. I mean, for Protect, I can go for a Calm Mind here. But I just don't need to make that play, because I'm in a really, really good spot right now. So I go right for the Surf on the incoming Suicune. And yeah, if you see what this says down here, it says tie between Gypsy King and Matty Brollic, and I'm going to explain this right after the end of this part of the video. I'm gonna give a face cam where I really explain everything about it, but essentially what we did was, if you guys didn't know what happened last week to Gypsy, he played against Togavor in the playoffs, and Togavor put the timer on him right away, and the timer is not something we've ever really enforced in the NPL. It was in the rule book this year, but it was never enforced, and anytime it was turned on, it was always asked to be turned off, and, you know, no one ever had any issue with it. And it was almost as if, like, there was an unspoken rule about not using the timer. So it was that type of rule where you know, you never would expect for it to decide a game, especially a serious one like a playoff game. So, you know, Togavor turned the timer on GYPSY, and not only does GYPSY take a while when he plays, but he also has really bad internet. A lot of the Australians do, and sometimes he is clicking his moves, and it just keeps winding down on him because of the bad internet. So, ultimately, GYPSY ended up timing out when he was in a really good position to win, and he asked if the timer could be taken off, because he saw that the timer was on, but the timer was never enforced, so he figured that, like, you know, someone would give him a timer warning if anything, and he didn't get a timer warning till there was only 10 seconds left. So, you know, a lot of people have different opinions on it. My opinion was just that it was a really uncool thing, and I do not stand by deciding a game like that, especially a playoff game. Yeah, I just think that, like I said, it's uncool when it comes to Pokemon, and, you know, avoiding things like RNG or silly things like a timer. That is definitely one of my main prerogatives. I'm not going to go into a whole spiel about restarts and everything, but for anyone who knows me, you know, I'm big on the restarts, because I just want Pokemon to be as indicative of the two players' skill as possible, and I don't want things like timer. If the timer is enforced, that's fine, but if the timer isn't enforced and there's something silly like that, a really screwy victory, I don't think that's cool, and I don't think, you know, and that's why I'm a fan of restarts, because I don't like when, you know, huge games, really exciting games, are just completely tarnished by hacks. So, I was very upset about what happened, but the main reason I was really upset about what happened was just because of the fact that GYPSY and I have wanted this for so long, and it just felt like it was totally stripped away for no good reason, and that was really upsetting, because I was already feeling really, really down towards the NPL at the moment, and then they pull something like that. GYPSY was furious. I was so upset, and it really kind of took a lot of the steam out of our upcoming game. We talked about it for a while, and we knew we really wanted to still have a good game, but ultimately we realized that this is the game that we've been waiting for. This is how we want it to go out, and because of the whole thing that happened with the timer, we decided that, you know, this is the last game that we want to have in the NPL. We don't care about the championship. We just want to go out playing each other, having as good of a game as possible at the highest level. And we turned on the timer, and neither of us made a move. And we let the timer tick down, as most of the NPL, or a lot of the people in the NPL, or just people watching, got angry at us, especially me, because it was, believe me guys, this was more my idea than GYPSY's, so don't give GYPSY a hard time for it. I really kind of pushed this on him. I know he was cool with it after everything that happened to him with the timer, but yeah, I totally was the one who initiated this whole thing, so people were getting really angry about it, but this is how we wanted to go out. We went out with a tie, which is essentially a double forfeit, and the end of both of our NPL careers. And for me, it couldn't have been more of a poetic ending. I am very, very satisfied with how things ended. This was a really good game in my opinion, although it seems like if Keldeo just won here, whatever, 5-0, seems like a one-sided victory at the end of the day, but for anyone who knows a thing or two about Pokemon, it was not a one-sided victory. It was kind of like our last game where I lost 4-0, but it was the type of game where a couple plays went differently, and I think I win that game. This game as well, if a few things go differently, if I don't get a bunch of plays right here and there, or if I don't catch him off guard with a couple things, I think he easily could have beaten me, because as you saw, even though my prep was really solid, he started swinging the momentum back into his favor with his, you know, very skillful playing and really solid prep, and just his draft being so amazingly fat. So I think this was a really solid game, and all the mind games that went into both the prep and the playing, I think, were really excellent and intellectually stimulating, which is what I really enjoy about the draft format, when it is like that. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this match against GYPSY. It's been an honor to play against him so many times in the NPL, and almost always have these fantastic matches. It's really been a lot of fun for me. It's something that I will remember for the rest of my life, even though, you know, even if I'm not playing Pokemon anymore, it's something that I'll be able to look back on with fond memories, because it was just two people that, in my opinion, are the absolute best at what they do. In my opinion, just going at it and giving it their all. And, you know, even if we're not the best, it's still two guys that are giving it their all and you know, feel like they're really being challenged. So that is something that is, it's worth something. It means something to us, and that is why we are so satisfied with how things ended here. Now, for those of you that are wondering what is going on for the finals, instead of me playing in the finals, the GYPSY King himself is stepping in and using my team. Him and Aster are pretty good buddies. Sorry, I guess I just spoiled if you didn't see Rob versus Aster's game, but Aster did win, and he is going to be crowned as the NPL Season 8 champion. He is going to have that game with Zazo because, like I said, they're good friends. He wants to have a finals game, so he's going to have the finals game, but he is officially the NPL Season 8 champion because Zazo, you know, he's not a finalist, you know, like, he wasn't, he didn't have my team. I know he stepped in for Riz for a little bit at the end. You know, it's just a exhibition game or a constellation game type of thing, but they're still going to have fun with it. And Aster's a very deserving champion. He had an absolutely incredible season. Like, he really blew me away, especially, for example, like, it just goes to show, guys, because, like, I see a lot of people quick to harp on someone doing poorly in the format if they're just, you know, doing poorly for a short period of time. I know what happened with me with the, like I mentioned before, the 0-4 March Madness. For me, that's just a huge joke. It's something that I look back and laugh at. I totally got tossed in a couple of those games. Then the other couple, I honestly would have won had certain things not happened. But I just wasn't trying. I was just going out there, just playing my games. I already knew I couldn't make it. But, you know, whatever. Ended up 0-4. Hacks or not, 0-4. And that's the end of the day. It wasn't me going. I did really try for the two games I got tossed, I'll totally admit. But, you know, for whatever reasons, I got tossed. Whether it's matchup or my opponents just really did amazing, I got tossed, and I admit that. But, you know, people have bad days. People have bad seasons. Aster, as you can see in the GBA, which in my opinion does have very good competition, but I don't think it has as good as the NPL. Aster went into the GBA and finished towards the bottom. I couldn't believe it because I know that Aster's a good player, but he just had a rough season. And then he comes to the NPL and just dominates. He's just tossing people left and right, and good players too. So, you know, he really showed what he's capable of in the NPL, and he's a very deserving champion. So, happy for him. I'm also sorry to him for what I did with this whole shenanigan, but I'm going to talk about that in just a bit. So, that was my last game in the National Pokeball League. I hope you guys who have been here since the beginning, or whether you've come here midway through, or just for this game is your first time watching me, I hope you enjoyed the ride for what it was. It had plenty of ups and downs, especially in my case. You know, a guy like Gypsy was mostly ups, but for me it was tons of ups and downs. You know, showing lots of dominance, showing lots of great things, and then just having these big downs. But, you know, here this season we were able to just come in. We really didn't want to play, but we were able to muster up just enough effort to be able to clinch playoffs, and then get to face Gypsy the way we wanted to since Season 5 in a big do-or-die scenario. And we essentially won. He you know, forfeited here, or he, you know, said good game, and he was, you know, ready to call it quits, but then, you know, we decided to pull the whole timing out thing. So, really happy with how I performed in this match. Like I said, I really do think it was a great game, despite the outcome seeming like it's more one-sided than it actually was. But, yeah, I just, this is me playing at my highest level. And when I play like this, I have so much fun, and it just, I don't know. This is what gives me the type of passion I have for the draft format. So I'm happy with the way things turned out. very, very satisfied with how my NPL career has ended, especially considering how tough it was getting for me to be in the NPL anymore. So before I get into all that stuff, I just want to say thank you guys for anyone who's watched this video and has made it this far. I know it's already been over an hour, but you guys know me when it comes to these big games. I always do this type of thing. So yeah, I really appreciate you sticking along for the ride. I hope you enjoyed the video thus far. Sorry, I can't speak. Hope you enjoyed the video thus far. If you don't want to stick around for the face cam after this, where I kind of explain why I did what I did and just go into depth about it a little more, then I hope you all have yourselves a fantastic day. And if you don't stick around, I'll see you in the next one. If you do, then I'll see you in a little bit. All right, let's do this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you've got Matty Brollic here for the very last time in the National Pokeball League. That's right, this is it. This is the final recording, but I actually did this recording a couple times, and I went on for way too long, so I know this video's already been long as hell, but at the same time, I really kind of dragged out the point, and I don't really feel like it was concise enough for anyone to really watch it and get anything from this. So essentially what I'm going to be doing here is, and I apologize for the bad lighting, by the way, like it's even hard to see me, but my webcam on my computer is not working right now, so I'm filming this on my phone. And essentially, like I said, what I'm going to do here is explain to you what happened between GYPSY and I in the game and why we ended up going with a timer draw instead of finishing the game. And also just wrap up my NPL career here and, you know, say my goodbyes, whatever it is. So if you did not watch the game and you skip to this point for whatever reason, what happened in the game, if you don't know, is GYPSY and I were having a really back and forth game, and it was long and dragging out. But then finally, I put myself in a position where I was really building up momentum, and I was really in control, and I essentially got to the point where I had guaranteed the win. And he, verbally said this, "Good game, I can't beat this anymore," and he was, pretty much throwing in the towel. But instead of finishing the game and playing all the way out, what I did was put on the timer, and we let it go all the way down, and we didn't make a move, so we both ended up tying and essentially forfeiting a spot in the finals, both of us. And a lot of people still suggested that I play, but I told them no, I wanted this. This was the way I wanted to go out in the National Pokeball League, and I am just going to go with it. These are the terms that I wanted, and I've gotten them, and I could not be happier. So for those of you that are looking for some type of explanation or clarity on why I did that, I will be providing that to you now. Let me just state here that I don't owe anyone, or I shouldn't say anyone, but I don't owe most of you an explanation or anything like that. And I don't mean that to be rude. I'm saying that in the sense where, like, I had my reasons for doing this, and I'm going to explain them. But I had my reasons, and at the end of the day, I'm happy with my decision, and I don't regret it. I regret certain parts of how it went down, but I don't regret what I ultimately decided in the slightest. And if you don't like that, I am sorry that it offended you, but I am not. But I'm not going to sit here and lose sleep over how you think about me now or how you feel about me. That is something that I could, frankly care less about. But I do want to give an explanation because I know I did upset a lot of people, and what I don't like doing is upsetting people. Like, if someone wants to think a certain way about me because of something that I did, that's fine, but if I upset someone, especially people that I like, then I feel bad because I don't like upsetting people. I really like, helping people or making people happy, whatever it is. I don't really care about everyone liking me. I would just want to make other people happy and not make them upset. So that is why I want to give some explanation, because hopefully you'll understand where I'm coming from a little bit better and you won't be as upset. But if not, oh well. At the end of the day, like I said, I'm not going to lose sleep over any of this. But I'm just doing this because of the people that I, truly feel bad for. Some more than others because some were more affected than others directly by the situation. So I will address that. But essentially, what I want to talk about is the way the NPL built up over time and why it caused, me especially, but GYPSY and I to make this decision. So when right before Season 5, like after I played Season 4 was when I joined the NPL. I was primarily a Smogon YouTuber. I made my channel about 2.5 years ago, and I was an up-and-coming Smogon tournament player at the time. I didn't have really friends in the Smogon community, and I always wanted that, and I ended up, getting that over time once I started my YouTube channel. But at the, before that, I was someone who was, like I said, up-and-coming in the tournament scene, and I was doing well for someone who didn't have friends to play with and test with. I was someone who only really got to just watch YouTubers online or play on the ladder, so I didn't really have a formal way of testing in tournaments. And, I really was doing well, and as I started to meet more people in the community, I started improving in a lot of different areas in standard play, and it came to a point where, I joined the NPL because I ended up meeting Jolt, and I was always interested in the GBA, but I hadn't had any draft experience at the time. So Smogon was still my main format, but I did enjoy the draft format as well, and NPL Season 4 was good. We did well. We ended up losing in the playoffs, but for our first time in the format in a league that was, not as competitive as it became in the future, but still was quite competitive at the time, I definitely was satisfied with that, especially considering my draft was not very good. So as the Smogon thing continued, I got better and better to a point where I really was becoming a pretty good Smogon tournament player. And then by the time right around before Season 5 started, I really started to get a taste of the community, enough to the point where I was able to decide that this place is not for me. There's a lot of negativity. There's a lot of people I thought I liked that are quick to turn on me just because, for whatever reason, it'll make them look better in some way, or people were just really in there for themselves, being selfish, trying to just take, and not really be a community where everyone's trying to be there for one another. So I realized that it wasn't really a great place for me. A lot of immaturity and negativity that I did not want on my plate. So thankfully, I had played in the NPL and I was part of the group, and I kind of had that to turn to, which became essentially a second home for me. Just really, really nice and down-to-earth people. And it reminded me again that you could be competitive in a Pokemon community, but still just be surrounded by good people and enjoy the hell out of it, because you are spending time with good people that are willing to be there for you and understand you and talk to you, hang out with you, whatever it is, while also going against you, being good competition for you, helping you grow as a player, and just give you that competitive satisfaction by getting to go out there and compete. So it was good stuff. I really was enjoying the NPL more and more as Season 5 was rolling around. Season 5 rolled around, and that's when GYPSY King joined, and right away we hit it off. I could tell right away that he was really good at mons, really good at building, good at drafting once we started the draft, and really hands. I mean, he hands some L's to cut the camera. No, but anyway, GYPSY joined, and we, kind of hit it off right away as buddies, and it just became the most hype Pokemon experience in my life, because I, like I said, did pretty well in Season 4, but it wasn't anything special, and then all of a sudden Season 5 rolls around, and I'm putting in a lot of this effort, and I'm, 8-0 throughout the first 8 games of the season, as is GYPSY, and the whole season we were just waiting and hoping we'd be both 8-0 by the time our game rolled around, and we were. And we went into that game and just had an absolute, barn-burning, house-tearing, just slobber-knocking battle, which was one for the ages, and was definitely worthy of an undefeated clash of that magnitude, in my opinion. And yeah, it was just so hype. And unfortunately I lost, but I was really excited to hopefully get the chance to rematch him in the finals, because that's where it would really count. And the rest of the season we both continued to dominate, but then once the playoffs rolled around, we both made the semis, and unfortunately I ended up losing and didn't get to play him in the finals. But regardless, even though I was very upset about losing that semifinals because I cared way too much that season, admittedly, I still had a great time and the NPL really was solidified as like my second home, as I mentioned before. So throughout the years, Season 6 rolled around. I wasn't even in the original lineup for Season 6, and people started dropping out. Then Dallas Boy ended up dropping out, and Joel approached me about being a replacement coach. And he happened to draft a team that had, you know, Yurna, Lando T, Zardex, whatever it was. The team was busted. And I, you know, came back hoping to have some fun, because at the time I took a break from the NPL because I was just frustrated with Pokemon, and I felt that I just needed some time away. But, you know, I joined the league. I saw everyone having fun, and I kind of wanted to get in on it. And I got in on it, and I was just hoping to have a good time. I didn't care about the playoffs or anything. I just wanted to play, because I had a really tough schedule. I just wanted to play a lot of the good players and just try to beat them. But at the end of the day, if I didn't make playoffs, it wasn't going to affect me. It wasn't going to bother me. So I ended up pretty much dominating everybody, including 6-0ing 3 people in a row, including GYPSY King, actually, which was something crazy. And that's something that made everyone freak out and just say, oh, you know, McGeehan is so busted, whatever it was. And, you know, it is busted, but, you know, people were really negative towards me as this was my fault when I, you know, didn't draft this team, and I didn't do anything unfair to get this team. Jolt just asked me if I would replace because Dallas dropped out, and I did. So it was unfortunate that a lot of people I had felt I was friends with were all of a sudden really negative towards me. And I kind of had that same feeling of how I had on Smogon, which was really disappointing back then too. So once this happened, this really kind of set things in motion. Season 7 was not fun because I drafted a team that was kind of like a meme team, and I thought that, you know, I'd be good enough to still kind of run through most of the league and still make the playoffs, but even with kind of like giving myself a handicap. But I think that I could have, but unfortunately a couple hacksy games here and there prevented me from doing that, and we actually ended up just barely missing out on the playoffs because the very last game we just needed to hit a Hydro Pump and we missed. So that was very frustrating, and the whole league just seemed a lot more negative, even more than Season 6, not towards me in particular, but just in general. It just seemed like no one was really friends. People were constantly bickering or arguing a little bit, and it just was not a good environment, in my opinion, for a Pokemon, you know, community. So that's kind of how Season 7 rolled around, and by that point I was really starting to just get sick of the NPL. I felt the server in general had kind of gone in a direction that I did not like as much as I originally did. I just felt it kept continuing to go in this direction, and I wasn't particularly enjoying it. So going into Season 8, I really didn't have the desire to want to play in the NPL, but I spoke to GYPSY about it, and he said that, you know, he was going to play again, and that he, you know, would like me to play. You know, if I didn't play, he would even consider not playing himself. And I was feeling the same way in the fact that I wouldn't play if he didn't play. So the fact that he played, said, you know what, like, I'm going to just give one more shot in the NPL because I really don't want to just leave it on bad terms. It's been a very nice place for me in the past, and I have great memories here. So I want to go out, you know, with a great season in the NPL, or just one that makes me happy. Even if it's not the best season, I just want it to make me happy. So, you know, I draft a relatively try-hard team. Unfortunately, it doesn't really fit my style as well as I would like, but it still is a solid team nonetheless. Not great, but solid. You know, I start off well, beat my rival Cheese Boy in first game, but then second game I get hacked by Trav really badly, and then all of a sudden I'm just like not feeling it again. So I did go all out against GYPSY week 4, and I think we had a really good game, even though I ended up losing that one. But from there on out, I just put in just enough effort to be able to win most of my games from there on out. And I did lose a couple of hacksy games during the season, but ultimately we still kind of didn't run through everyone, but for the most part we beat everyone in front of us and clinched the playoffs a couple weeks before the playoffs happened. So that was cool. And because of some of those hacksy losses, though, we were on the same side of the playoff bracket as GYPSY. Now, a lot of people would have expected, you know, us to really want to play in finals as opposed to semifinals, but for me, that honestly, like I mentioned earlier in the video, if you know, saw it, that was a little bit superficial to me. Finals games aren't, for me, championship wins aren't as indicative of skill in Pokemon as consistency is, general consistency, because there were plenty of times where people just cruise through the playoffs with either great matchups or even more so hacks, where people just do not deserve to win the game and they win like 2 or 3 of their playoff games through hacks. And at the end of the day, like, I would just be miserable winning a championship like that. I just wouldn't feel good about it. Like, what did I didn't win this. I didn't deserve this. And then, you know, for the person or for the people that got screwed out of it, it's just really disappointing. It's not fun, in my opinion. So that's why general consistency to me in a game where these things exist, like matchup, but especially hacks and the RNG, I think general consistency is more impressive because it's not easy to really mitigate those factors and win over and over and over again. So if you can do that, I think that's really goes to show the type of player you or said person is. So that's why for me the finals game didn't matter that much. I wanted to just play GYPSY in a do or die scenario where we could both go all out, because in a playoff game we can't afford to hold anything back, because if we lose, we're out. So we just have to go all out and give it our best shot. So that's really, really what I wanted, and that's why I was not bothered by the fact that we couldn't play in finals. So, you know, essentially, we are both really done with the NPL, especially me. And then the playoffs roll around. I end up beating Merc, which, you know, everyone else was a lot more hyped for that game than I actually was, which was a shame because I like getting hyped for those types of games. Merc and I have a history, and, you know, history of a little bit of bad blood between us, actually. So, you know, people are excited to see some more drama, but I really I put in the effort because I really wanted to get to that GYPSY game, but I just wasn't excited for it. I won the game, closed my computer, went upstairs to get something to eat. Like, it was just did not move me as much as as it would have at another point in my life, or as much as I would have liked it to, because other people were hyped for it. So that was kind of a shame, but I was happy because I knew I'd probably get to play GYPSY King. But what happened was he got paired up against Chris round 1, and there was a whole issue where Chris turned on the timer, and GYPSY not only takes long when he plays, but he also has screwy internet. A lot of the Australians in the community do, and that's kind of unfortunate because there could be times where he's actually clicking buttons and they're not registering as fast as they should. So with that being the case, he can end up timing out when he's not even taking as long as the timer is suggesting. So that's what happened, and the NPL never actually actively enforced the timer. We have it in the rules, yes, that someone could win by a timer if they decide to, but every time anyone's turned on the timer in the NPL, essentially, the other coach or even the mods have demanded that it be turned off, and it's been turned off. It's almost been like an unspoken rule in the NPL that you just don't use the timer. So, if anything, using it to speed someone up is one thing, but to keep it on and really try to get the win that way, especially in a playoff game, in my opinion, is really uncool. And GYPSY ended up losing to Chris while he was in a position to almost guaranteed win, which was, you know, mind-boggling, because finally I win my playoff game and I'm ready to face GYPSY, and then something as crazy as him losing by a timer rule that hasn't been enforced ever, you know, that scenario occurs. It was just it was crazy. GYPSY was furious. I was heartbroken. You know, not heartbroken, but I was really upset. My jaw dropped. My heart sank when I saw the messages, because they played while I was asleep, and I got the messages the next day. But essentially, you know, what happened next was Chris decided to give GYPSY a rematch, which, you know, I commend him for. That was very good of him to do, because GYPSY lost. Like, Toad could have taken that win, but Toad did give him the rematch, and GYPSY did end up winning. So, you know, it was good that we were getting to play, but it really took the wind out of our sails quite a bit. And at this point, we knew we were done with this league. We are finito. We are getting out of here. So, I had decided up to that point that, you know, this is what I wanted. I just wanted the game between him and I, and that is how I want to end my NPL career, whether I win or lose. I want this to be my last game. So if I do come to a point where I'm about to win, I am going to forfeit and suggest that he go on and win his 4th NPL championship, because, you know, why not? He's been so dominant all along. And I don't care about this championship, so he might as well just do it. Even if he doesn't care about it that much, he probably cares about it more than I do, because I don't care about the championship. I want to end on these terms, and I don't want any potential championship game to potentially taint the way I go out in the NPL, because I am just, really happy to be playing him in my last game. If I lose horribly, where I just do really poorly, obviously I'm not going to be happy with it. But if I lose in a good game, like I did to him last time during the season, or if I beat him, I will be very, very satisfied with both of those outcomes. So that was what I had planned. But we essentially talked about this scenario, because GYPSY had talked about how much he really didn't care about the finals at this point either, which is understandable considering he won, the last 3 in a row. So we decided that it was my idea, and I was the one who really was more adamant about this, but we both decided that we would let the game play out, and once someone was about to win, we would just turn the timer on, and we would both go down and essentially double forfeit. And if they wanted to find another replacement for the championship, they could. If they wanted to give it to whoever won the game between Aster and Rob, they could. But we wanted to go out that way on our own terms and just go off, just end our runs in the NPL the way that we've wanted to all along. So that is what we decided we wanted to do, and that is what we essentially went through with and did. And obviously ended up causing a lot of controversy. Alright, so let me start off by apologizing to anyone that I did offend or upset with this type of decision, because I wholeheartedly admit this was a short-sighted and a selfish decision. It was something that I did for me. It was something that I did without regards to some others that were closely linked to this scenario. I don't care about anyone who's invested in the NPL. I shouldn't put it that way. Not that I don't care about anyone who's invested in the NPL. I don't want to upset anybody. But, if you're just someone who doesn't think I should have did this and just thinks it's wrong, I'm sorry that you're hurt by it, but I don't care about what you think. So that's what I'm trying to say. But because I'm happy with this decision, and you thinking that I'm not a good guy now or what I did was wrong isn't going to change the fact that I'm happy with this decision. So what I am sorry about is the fact that it was particularly short-sighted when it came towards people like Jolt, someone who I've really grown a very strong bond with over the years and seasons in the NPL. He's been just such a fantastic guy to not only me, but to everybody around him. And even though I know that the NPL is going through some tough times right now, and he's struggling as well, it's still a league that's been important to him for a long time, and the way I kind of handled this without telling him beforehand was short-sighted and, like I said, selfish. The reason I didn't tell him was because I was afraid he would just kind of nip it in the bud and tell me, no way, you can't do this. So, not cool on my end, but I was hoping the fact that he really was kind of struggling with the NPL at the moment, he really wouldn't care much, but unfortunately he was upset. So I am, very sorry to Jolt. I never meant to do it in any type of way where I'm being spiteful towards the NPL. These are just the terms I wanted to leave on. So the main person I really want to apologize to is Aster J. He did end up beating Rob in his semifinals game and moved on to the finals. Now, the thing was, I wanted to play this game against GYPSY before they played, because I knew in my head that had we done that, what was I going to say? Had we played before them, then at least they had time to figure out some type of scenario on what they wanted to do for the finals, whether they just wanted to be Rob versus Aster in the championship, or find some other way to have someone from the other side of the playoff bracket, like maybe have like a rematch between Togavor and Merc or something, and have the winner go on to the finals. I didn't know what they wanted to do exactly, what their scenario would have been, but I figured they'd probably have time to think of something. But because GYPSY was busy or whatever, we didn't get the chance to play before Rob and Aster, and because I didn't tell Aster I definitely bummed him out quite a bit, and that really, like I said, was short-sighted and selfish of me to do, because even though, like I said, I'm thrilled with how things ended, it was not cool in the sense that Aster is a guy who's, you know, really enjoyed his NPL season this year, and he totally kicked butt, which was great for him, and he really showed what he's capable of, which that alone I think makes him a deserving champion. But the fact that he was probably really excited to have, which he told me was going to be his first finals game, which I didn't know, he'd never been to finals before, that was going to be his first finals game, and the fact that I totally took away his opportunity of having a finals game, and even if he does have one type of makeshift finals game now, it's not going to be the same because of how everything went down. I really do feel badly about that because, you know, he wasn't tied into this at all. It wasn't trying to stick, you know, finger up anyone's, you know, it really wasn't trying to give anyone the finger here or anything like that. It was just something that Gypsy and I wanted for ourselves, especially me. I don't want to drag Gypsy into this too much. Like, yes, he agreed to what we were going to do, but it was totally more my idea and my suggestion, and I was the one who was a lot more adamant about it. So, yes, that was selfish, like I said, and I deeply apologize to Aster. I did explain all of this to him, and he ultimately seemed at least cool with it. Hopefully, you know, he actually is if you're watching this. But yeah, that was something that I do genuinely feel badly about. But other than that, like I said, I'm thrilled with the way things went down, and I just wanted to provide you all an explanation about why I did this, and you know, I just wanted to apologize to anyone that I offended, but especially guys like Jolt and Aster, because I think that I, you know, indirect or, you know, unintentionally offended them the most, and those are two guys that really didn't deserve it. So that's what I wanted to get out here in this video as I wrap up my NPL career. Sorry that this went on for a while, huh? About 26 minutes already. Yeah, so very selfish of me, but you know, not to defend myself. I'm not trying to sit here and defend myself in the sense where, like, oh, like, I need everyone to forgive me or anything. I'm not looking for forgiveness, but the reason I was so adamant on making a decision that I knew was selfish is because I am someone who, at least I consider to be very selfless, and I'm constantly looking to help others and give as much as I can to others, and I'm very rarely taking for myself. I'll give people advice on how to go out and take for themselves and do things for themselves, but I don't even take my own advice, and I rarely ever do things for myself. So unfortunately, the time I did do something for myself, it had to be very controversial, where I ended up upsetting a lot of people that I like, and even people that maybe either I don't really know or people that I don't like. Regardless, I don't really want to upset people. So that's unfortunate, but I am glad that I finally just took the step and did something for myself, and it ended up, you know, being exactly how I wanted it to be, outside of the effect on it had on a lot of other people. So that's pretty much it, guys. That's my whole spiel on why I did what I did, and that's how I'm going to wrap up my NPL career. I had some absolutely fantastic memories in the NPL, and I've made some probably lifelong friends in the NPL. You know, Gypsy especially is one of my closest friends. We don't hang out in real life, but like in real life outside of Pokemon, like, you know, we talk all the time, and is one of my closest friends. And I have so many others that I've made in the NPL that I've been, you know, blessed to come across and feel really lucky to still have, despite everything that's happened. So I am very grateful to the NPL in a lot of ways, but it is definitely time for me to move on, and it happened in the best way possible. You know, I really just wanted that major playoff game against GYPSY King, and, you know, we played him in what was, in my opinion, a very good game, and, you know, we won. So, you know, definitely satisfied with everything. I'm satisfied with the way things are ending, and I am ready to move on to just different things in life. I'm in a pretty good place in life right now, and getting this big weight off my shoulders that was the NPL is very liberating, even more so. And now I, you know, have a little bit more free time on my hands. Maybe I can, you know, be more productive in real life. Maybe I could join another league here and there. I'm currently in the ITL, and right now I don't have any plans for joining another league, but, you know, who knows? Maybe I will. But NPL is in the past now, and I feel very happy about that. So thank you to everyone who's been a part of my NPL experience. Thank you to everyone so much for watching and supporting me along the ride. Hopefully you're not too upset about what I did, but if you are, you know, oh well. So that's pretty much all I could say. Thank you guys, like I said, so much for the support and being part of this ride. Hopefully you'll continue to be a part of this ride with me, because I know I'm not done on YouTube or anything. And yeah, that's about it. So for the final time, I will be signing out from the National Pokeball League. Have yourselves a fantastic day, and I will see you all in the next one. Later.